Would you mind sharing why you wrote this book?
You get to 50 and you are dissatisfied because you thought it would be better than this. 25 years earlier when I started, it was a good idea. And then one day you wake up, it's 25 years later and it's not a good idea. Living in a basement apartment, drinking every day.
Can you explain what your ideas are behind that?
It's my fault. Everything is my fault. And when you can say that to yourself honestly, you can then change direction. Once you change yourself, you're going to attract all the things that you need.
Everything about you was different. Your energy, the pace that you were talking, the way you looked, like you were a completely different man.
Sort yourself out first. Go and do your exercise. Go and do your healthy groceries. Read the book. Our days are very busy now. We have a 1-year-old. We have a 4-year-old. We're doing martial arts in the morning. We're going to the gym.
The way you described it made all the sense in the world.
For things to change radically, you're going to have to say a lot of goodbyes.
Today's conversation is very close to home. I'm speaking with my partner, Andy Martin, who has just written a book called The Movie of Your Life. He is talented after all, against all odds. The book is amazing. I actually read it and I kept on forgetting that it was written by him. It's about transformation and he can explain it much better than I can. So let's begin.
Thank you. That's very kind words.
Don't get used to it.
No, that's lovely.
Would you mind sharing why you wrote this book?
Well, that's a really good question. I think it's, I read something recently by, it was the publisher of James Clear who wrote Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to him, people write books that they need. And I didn't think that at the time that I was writing it, but in retrospect, I think it's exactly what I need is this book. So that must be the trigger. You know, I got to a point that I needed to get things off my chest and to see how far that I'd come in life and to continue the journey and to remind me of how far we've come. And I think it's that. And then after actually writing it, I've realized that I think it can help other people too. You know, so it might be something that could be extremely popular to the right people. So I think it's because I needed it myself.
And why now?
It's been 10 years. The book's about the last 10 years. And I think I've just hit a point in my life where I had some free time. We just sold a business recently. And I asked myself a question. If I was going to do something that didn't, it was something that I would really enjoy and something that it's not about the money, what would I do? And I would write this book. And I think I've got the opportunity now to do it. And that's why I've done it.
Who should read the book?
I would like to say anybody, but if I'm honest, I think people that are a bit dissatisfied. I think people who've got to a stage in their life where they're thinking, is this all there is? You know, they've worked hard, they've maybe got a family, maybe had a business or maybe had a job, and they've got to maybe a stage in their life where they're 30, 40, 50, and they didn't arrive at the place they thought they were going to arrive, and they're dissatisfied, and they want to change direction. And I think it's for someone like that.
Is that how you were dissatisfied?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit how your life was before you had the first moment that you decided to start your transformation?
What I used to do?
Yes.
Yeah. 10 years ago, I was living in Amsterdam. I'm telling you this story and you know it, right?
This is true.
I've been in the nightclub business for 25 years. And I was 50, approaching 50, living in a basement apartment, drinking every day, as part of my job, as far as I thought, single. I thought I was happy, but I was never really sober.
Mm.
You know, I think what you do is you get into an environment, if you work in the nightlife like I did, and you are happy because you're out and you're socializing. And what you do for a living is what everybody does for fun.
Makes
So
sense.
it felt like I was enjoying myself. But 25 years earlier, when I started, it was a good idea. And then one day you wake up, it's 25 years later, and it's not a good idea. We'd met and we started a relationship.
That's right.
And I told you that I wanted to change direction. And you, at that moment, thought you were too young. And you sent me a message saying that I would be the perfect boyfriend, but I'm a bit old. I'm too old.
Not anymore.
No, I'm not too old anymore. And that you'd sold your house and you were going on a world trip
That's right.
and it was over.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. And I think that was also a turning point for me.
Mm.
Another big turning point, which triggered the writing of the book, was going for a health check. I went to, it was Germany, as a company that you pay to do a scan of your body and do a health check.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know what was going on inside because I was drinking a lot,
Right.
6 nights a week for years. And I was convinced there was something wrong. And they asked me to fill a form in. So you get there into the clinic and you have to fill a form. And on the form, it asks you how much you drink. And it gives you units, how much a day or how much a week. And when I counted them up, the maximum units on the form were about half of what I drink. So I just thought this is a message.
Yeah. You told them that you're Irish.
Wow,
It might have put some extra,
might have something to do with it.
some extra
Yeah, it
things
could do.
on the side. Yeah. So that was another moment where you thought, okay,
Yeah,
this form actually gives a
yeah.
clue.
This is the start of the book because I got to 50 and I've been working all my life. So I've been self-employed since I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
And probably in survival mode more than anything.
Right.
Want to pay the rent, want to buy a car, want to go on holidays. I think a lot of people are
Like
in
most
that.
people, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And although I was doing well, I still wasn't saving any money. I was still living up, my lifestyle was living up to my income. And you get to 50 and you are dissatisfied because you thought it would be better than this.
What questions were you asking yourself?
How do I get out of what I'm doing? One of the biggest things was when you've done something for 20, 25 years, it's difficult to get out because it's all that you know. And you need to make a certain living. And to change direction at that stage in life isn't always the easiest thing.
No, of course not.
So it's a tricky thing.
Did you immediately knew how to get out of that place, or
I need to sell my business. But
and that was something you sensed instantly?
yeah, but it wasn't saleable because it wasn't really making any money. So what I had to do was commit myself differently to the company,
Right.
build the company up to a value that somebody's going to want to buy it.
Mm.
And I hadn't really done that. So I had to work harder at what I was doing to get out of what I was doing. You know what I mean? I had to commit myself much more to the job to get out of the job. And
Makes sense.
that's what I did for the following 2 years.
I mean, you're describing it very nicely in your book, and you are explaining everything step by step, how that process actually went.
Right, yeah.
Let me
In the
get back.
book, it talks about building relationships. I mean, I can tell you how that worked, but I had a small club on the first floor in Amsterdam, and I put together a team of young people around me, and we did it together. And they made a lot of money on the way, and they attracted other nice people. And the whole thing, it took a lot of work, about 3 or 6 months, I would say, at the beginning. I was working till 7 in the morning every night of the week for 2 years. But I built up what was possibly the most popular club in Amsterdam at the time. You know, every Tuesday night was full, Wednesday nights were full. I turned a corner and worked so hard on a concept that I was trying to sell, basically. And again, it covers it in the book, but I decided I was going to sell it 2 years earlier than I sold it, and I decided how I was going to sell it to. And I already started to discuss with them and involve them in what I was doing without them knowing they were going to buy it. It's a long story, and I don't want to cover it now, but it's a great way to sell a company. Is to, when you start a business, is to choose when you're going to finish, who you're going to sell it to. Decide that before you start, how it finishes and how it ends. And then you can have a courtship and a relationship with the people that are going to buy it before they know they're going to buy it.
Actually, I've been a very good witness of how you transformed, because before I left on my trip, you were definitely not the person you were when I met you after. And I remember that you were already kind of like chewing on the idea of change for a long time, building to that moment. And I didn't witness that moment specifically, but you were bothered and like uneasy already for a long time, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, what helped me with the transformation, because everybody wants to transform, I think.
That's right.
They all want to lose weight,
Yeah.
make more money, have more time for the family, be happier, be in a good relationship, live in the sun. We all want that.
100%.
So, for the ones that don't have it. But the reality is, I came up with an idea, the metaphor, the movie of your life. And the idea is this. I mean, I've always loved the movies. And I always thought about writing a script for a movie. It was always like a passion, like a pipe dream that's never going to come true. But instead, why not write the movie of your own life? Because let's imagine our lives are a movie of a 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And you get to write your own life movie. How would that be? And let's say you're halfway through your life, you pause the movie for a second, and you decide how the next half is going to be. And let's assume that the first half of your movie hasn't probably been exactly the way you wanted it to go. It's been there again, like we said before, about survival, about making other people happy, working for somebody, or running a business you don't like. But it's got you to a point where you are a bit dissatisfied. And the best way I can describe it is, what I did was I imagined how the movie was going to finish. And this is really important. The final scene in the movie, how is that going to look? Because that's the end of your life.
It's very interesting and very profound, really.
Yeah, it is. So if the movie of your life is, it starts with your birth and it ends with your death, that's your movie. And that's a movie for all of us. And they all last about the same time. Some are luckier than others. How is the final scene going to look if I choose how it's going to look, rather than go in a direction and it just happens how it's going to happen? So I imagined exactly how it was going to be, and I focused on that. And then I figured out, if my movie was going to end like that, how am I going to get there? And that was my metaphor. So I reverse engineered the concept from the final scene back to where I was at 50, and figured out, how am I going to run the second half of my life exactly the way that I want it? I don't know how to end the movie of your life if it doesn't end at the end.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Now, the way that I ended it, I was 90. So I figured out I'm 50. So the ending was 40 years from now, right? So there's a lot going on in between. There's a lot of small steps. And if you were going to choose an age of when you were going to pass, everybody says 90, don't they, or 100?
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, it's what's sad is when people die when they're young. And I think that that's something that no one wants to focus on. So it is a bizarre concept, but it's a real grasp on reality, because our movies are all going to end at some point. And why not have it end how you want it to end?
Right, yeah. Makes so much sense. In the first chapter, you said something that I thought was very powerful. Do you mind if I read it?
No, go ahead.
You have the body you choose through thousands of small decisions. You have the bank account you choose. You have the relationship you choose. Your current reality isn't random, it's the accumulation result of your choices. Well, that's very confronting. Can you explain what your ideas are behind that?
Yeah, I picked this idea up from Jim Rohn. I'm sure we'll talk about him at some
Mm,
point. He's a man that I met when I was 22, but he said this to me. It was about taking responsibility.
right.
So I was at a stage in my life where I was probably holding responsible other people, like my parents, for having my mother for disappearing when I was 9.
So victimizing yourself.
Yeah, my father for not having a good job, and I didn't have an education, and I had bad genetics. We lived in a bad town with no opportunities. There was a lot of things that were not going great.
Yeah, you didn't have a
And
good start in life.
no, but you can be 50 and still think about that, because what Jim Rohn said was that you take responsibility for everything in your life.
Mm,
And everything that you have the body that you have, and it's not the genetics, it's not all those things have a meaning, but you've made all those decisions about the exercise that you have, what you eat, what you drink. It's you that has done this to yourself. And if at a certain point you can take responsibility for that,
yeah,
and the moment where you go, it's my fault, I am here because I chose to be here. And
makes
every
sense.
left or right decision I've made all my life have brought me to this. Then it's difficult, this. But when you do that, it's like a weight off your shoulders.
Mm,
Because what you're saying to yourself is, you mean I can change? Because if you don't take responsibility, you can never change.
right, yeah.
But that was a moment, again, when I was 50, and I go, I've done this to myself.
Mm. So did you have those feelings? Were
Yeah,
you victimizing yourself until you were 50?
it's my fault.
Mm.
Everything is my fault. And when you can say that to yourself, honestly, you can then change direction.
Yeah, it's very
Because you can say,
brave.
then I can change my body, I can
Sure.
change my bank
Because
account.
I've done it, so I have the control over me.
Correct. Yeah. And that's a defining moment. And I think you have to, before you start the transformation, you have to do that.
Mm.
You have to have that moment and that conversation with yourself. Because if you're not going to do that, you're going to continue to blame other things, other circumstances, other people.
One thing that I was finding very fascinating reading in your book is how you talk about actually solving some traumas as well to have peace with certain things and to be able to free yourself. Do you think that's something that is absolutely relevant?
Are solving traumas relevant?
Yeah. Do you need to basically deal with things that happened in your past to come to peace with it, to choose not to victimize yourself?
Well, I think when you take responsibility,
Hmm.
what you're doing is forgiving. So the forgiveness sets you free. So if you're blaming your parents, or,
Yeah.
or you're blaming your spouse, or you're blaming your employer,
Hmm.
or your business partner, if there's a moment where you can de-traumatize the situation by forgiving people
Hmm.
and revisiting that, I think that sets you free.
Did it set you free emotionally?
Or even 35 or 40, but you get to 50 or 60 and you go, I have to do it this time.
Mm, it's now or never.
Yeah. So I think that was true.
Mm.
Would you also, Jim Rohn said this best, that if you don't have your own script and you don't write your own character, you're probably part of someone else's movie who has written their script, and they have not got much plan for you.
That's one of my favorite quotes of him, actually. You've been bombarding me over the years with his quotes, but that one is just
Well,
very serious but very funny at the same time.
well, he says, what have they? Guess what they've got planned for you? Not
Not much.
much. Or you could be part of your girlfriend or boyfriend's script. So it's you've got to take over and write your own ending and write
Mm.
your own daily activities and where you want to be. And if you don't do that, I assure you, someone else is using you in theirs.
And does that mean that you can't be involved in other people's scripts anymore?
Well, once you write your own, you can't do it alone.
Right.
So, for me, my script included you, and included a family, and it was a team thing at the end of the day. So,
Right.
for me to get what I wanted, I didn't want to be alone. I wanted to be with my family, and so for me, it's become a family script in a sense. And there's lots of subplots of like what the kids want, what you want, and everybody else.
Right.
And then we're all on a journey together. But at the beginning, you have to write it about yourself. You have to write what you want. And if what you want is to be single for the rest of your life, so then you do it together. But everybody has a different story that they want to tell, and how their life evolves is down to them. And I don't know who's in it for them. I know who's in it for me. And it means that there's a few of us on this journey.
I was finding it very clever how you use the metaphor of a movie, because I thought I've seen movies.
Yeah.
And because I think everybody has seen so many movies,
Yeah.
it becomes a bit more approachable, if that makes sense. So I had the feeling, okay, I kind of understand, I think, how a movie works. So
Yeah.
then I
That's
can
absolutely right.
understand what you mean in every chapter. Is that what you actually wanted to do?
Well, the main thing is it's fun.
You have a good reference. True.
That's the key.
Movies
That's
always
the
make
key.
me, yeah.
Because I'd written goals all my life. I'd written lists of, what I wanted for myself, for my spiritual goals, relationship goals, physical goals. God, it gets boring.
It's a burden, really.
Yeah. But to write a movie, and I've got the lead part.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. Yeah. And it's kind of it's the biggest goal setting you can possibly have. And it can, you can break that down into different goals, but you don't lose picture of how it works. And when you write it clearly, you have your movie running on a projector in your own mind, and you know where you're going. And it's one of the best goal setting metaphors I've ever come across, because it's fun. And I never forget.
No, because you also visualize it, of course.
Yeah, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I know what this end scene's going to be, and I can't forget that. But it's not. It's an all-encompassing goal rather than a list of goals. And I'd done that many times in my life, as everybody has. But this metaphor for me was just fun. And if it's fun, I can probably do it for years.
Yes.
But if it's not, I might not do it for years.
Yeah, I agree. It was really fun to read.
Right.
And also what I really picked up on and really surprised me, because, I mean, I've read so many self-development books.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I've never read before was visualization.
Yeah.
But repetition in visualization. So I've read people saying, okay, you need to visualize some goal or something you want to achieve.
Yeah.
But the way you described it made all the sense in the world. What you were basically saying, if I remember well, correct me if I'm wrong, is you visualize your end goal, basically.
The end scene.
End scene.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. You saved me there. I was already getting nervous.
You start with the end.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen a movie. Sometimes it starts with the end.
Yes.
So you start the movie, actually, and a guy gets shot, and then you go back to a few years earlier, and then you follow through how that movie worked. I got it clear, and then I have to figure out I'm going to get there. I have to reverse engineer this. So first of all, I'm 90. So I'm 50 when I think about this. I've got to live for another 40 years. Well, that's not going to be easy. If I'm going to live for 40 years, I have to change everything that I'm doing. Now, I might not, things might happen. I might go at 75 or 85 or whatever. I don't know. But I'm going to do the best that I can to get there. And for me to get there, I have to change everything that I'm doing. I have to study longevity. I have to study food. I have to study exercise. Now, this might not be a goal for everybody, but whatever your goal is, you've got to figure out how you're going to get there. Another thing that you find in the book is that once you figure out where you want to be, you've got to figure out if you're the leading man or woman, you've got to change into who that leading man or woman is to make it. And once you change yourself, you're going to attract all the things that you need.
Right.
And that's going to be people. You're going to need people. You're going to need to make some money. You're going to have to look after your health. There's a lot of things you're going to have to do to get to where you need to be. But you've got to figure out you first. And if you don't change and become worthy, you're not going to attract these other people in your life. So you can often have the idea before you're worthy. And then you've got to, but if you focus on it and you visualize it well enough, you will do the work you need to do to transform yourself into the person that's worthy because you want it badly enough. And so for 2 years, I only worked on myself. I worked hard at the business. I worked hard on me physically to get fit. I did many, many things that changed my life.
Oh yeah, I didn't recognize you.
Before I met you again. And then I met you 2 years later.
Everything about you was different. Your energy, the pace that you were talking, the way you looked, like you were a completely different man.
Yeah. You know, I should have known that you were not going to buy it in the beginning because I wasn't the leading man yet. You know, so I wasn't worthy of that role. So when you write your story, you have to develop your own character first. And once you've done that, things fall into place. You'll attract the right people and the right things. And so it's a journey that starts with working on yourself first.
Yeah, you're so sad.
And what I said to him was, what I think is important is geographical location. So I knew that I had to move from Amsterdam. To start my journey, I had to change where I lived and who I was spending my time with. For me, my vision of how I was going to end was radically different than where I was headed. And I had to change everything. There's a lot of people out there that are, from the outside, very successful. You know, they have money and they have things around them, but they're chronically unhappy. And his drinking was a result of that trauma where he was unhappy.
Why do you think it's so important to get away? To get away, like how you call it, a geographical location?
Everybody that you're surrounded with has an expectation of who you are. And they will find it very difficult for you to change. So one of the biggest problems, one of the things I learned early on, again from Jim Rohn, was when you write this script, it's probably best that you don't tell anybody because they're not going to understand. And you're probably surrounded by people who aren't in your new script, right? So they are part of your old life. And for things to change radically, you're going to have to say a lot of goodbyes. And they're going to be people close to you. And it's a sad state of affairs, but if you share your script and your stories with them, and it makes them feel like a failure themselves, and they will try and change your mind. And I did not share my story with anybody because I don't think anybody was going to either take it seriously or like the idea. Because once we moved from Amsterdam, there's a lot of people very upset. But if I hadn't done that, I would still be in the hole I was in, spending time with the same people, walking the same streets, eating the same food in the same restaurants, having the same conversations with the same people. All that has to change.
Do you think you would have been able to do it, or would anyone be able to actually make those changes and not move?
I wouldn't have been able to do it. Not a chance. Depends how radical you want your change. So if somebody wants to change as radical as me, you might have to change everything.
Right.
Because the people that you love will come with you.
What was it that kept you going at the moments that you were getting disheartened, or you had a moment of that you weren't so motivated anymore and things were hard?
Knowing I'm on my own, you know, knowing there's nobody there, there's no safety net for me. And that fear of getting to my age and
Do you mean because of your parents?
thinking of the alternative? Well, not even friends. You know, I didn't even have any friends or business partners that had my back. Not really.
Mm.
You know, they don't have many plans for you. And so in the end, you have to look after yourself, and then you can look after the people that you love, but do it yourself first. And I think that's the thing that keeps you going. And furthermore, how clear your end scene is or your movie. Once you've got focused on how your movie's going to end, you're going to work like hell to get to it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me of another great piece out of your book. Can I read that again?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I really love this. The most selfless thing you can do is become your best self. That takes redefining what selfish actually means. You're using an example of what they always say on the airplane of put your own mask first, which actually at first when you hear it might be a bit confusing.
I have to look after me so I can look after you.
Hmm.
But I have to do me first.
And why is that?
Because if I'm unhealthy, or I have a heart attack, or I go bankrupt, or something goes wrong with me, you're all in trouble.
Yeah,
And so I have
like that
to
it definitely makes
I have
sense.
to
Yeah.
get myself in together first. You know, you have to put your mask on first, and or it's not going to work out. Become the leading man or
Mhm.
woman. Get yourself together as a good example, and keep that going. And that's important because you can focus on too many other things, and then you're in pieces yourself. You can't look after anybody else.
No, makes sense if you explain it
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. I think it's important.
What did prioritizing yourself look like on your day to day after your first transformation?
Learning how to say no
Mm.
more, social events, favors for people, people stealing your time, you know, trying to, well, what happens if you're going to become the leading man or woman in your own movie? Your
Mhm.
to-do list is going to be pretty long, pretty comprehensive. And if you're going to get up early in the morning, that means you've got somewhere that you're going. And you're not really going to have that much time anymore for other things. One of the reasons you have a lot of time for other people is because you don't know where you're going yourself. So when you don't have great goals and you don't have your own video running in your own mind of what your own movie looks like, you're probably going to get pulled along to other people's
Mm.
movies, or they're going to steal your time. So in reality, being more selfish, well, they say self-ish, right? So that the reality of that is sort yourself out first. Go and do your exercise, go and do your healthy groceries, read the book, you know, educate yourself. Buy the books that you need because you don't know what you need to know to go where you're going.
Mm.
Because if you did, you'd already be there. So educate yourself on diet, educate yourself on business, educate yourself on emotional intelligence so you can have a better relationship. You're going to be busy with all that, and you've not really got time to be going for drinks every Friday night with the boys like you were to come in at 4 in the morning. Well, that's me anyway.
And for
So
how long did that take? How long?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Big commitment.
For me to get to a point where you came back into my life at
Mm.
least.
God, bizarre. That was exactly 2 years after.
Yeah, it was. It was very bizarre.
Because we could have very easily not met at that day as well.
Yeah. I was looking for another leading woman. I just didn't find one.
So you went to the old bird?
Oh, God, yeah. I'm back to you again.
No. What were the hardest boundaries? What were the storms you had to face?
Many. So once you've written your script, you have to rewrite it all the time
Mm.
because your imagination of where you're going to be is only imagination. And then you will get there, but it's going to be like this. And there's going to be lots of things that are going to go in your way.
How important it is to have to find the right partner and to stick with the right partner.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me about that?
It depends what your goals are. So if your goal is to get married and start a family and so on, or be on your own, some people have different goals. But it's the one single decision, but it's a very, very important.
Do you think it's the most important decision? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because you're going to share everything with them, all your goals, everything is going to be together. And if they betray you, it's hard to get over.
Definitely.
Because your entire script goes up in flames. You know, your entire life just ends. So you have to do a big rewrite then, really big rewrite. But that's crucial, and you shouldn't rush into that, and you should take your time. Make sure you're choosing the right person because of your self-interests. You know, find out about as much about them as possible, and find out what their goals are and what they're interested in, rather than just because you're attracted to them.
Does it also count for friends and other people that you let into your life?
Everybody that I meet, I'm auditioning for the movie. For 10 years, everybody that I've come across is auditioning for a role in the movie, and not all of them make it.
Makes sense. Now I think about your friends. They do all actually fit perfect.
Yeah, because
And they're all
otherwise,
very inspiring
if you
people.
don't have your script written out, you're just making random friendships because you don't know where you're going anyway, right? So why does it matter?
So true.
But they have to fit. And so, you know, we have friends now that are interested in things that we're interested in. They have young families, they're interested in keeping fit, they run their own businesses.
Yes.
But we didn't have those friends in Amsterdam.
Not
So
at all.
you start to be more selective. How much time have you got?
Yeah. And the cliche is you're the average of the 5 people you spend most time with, though. They
Yeah.
influence you as well,
You
of
become
course.
the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with.
I bet Jim Rowan has also said something about that.
He did say that.
I knew it. So what is it with this Jim Rowan? You're almost more married to him than to me. Like, I think if there was one single person in your life that had the most influence, more than your parents, if I might say so, of
Absolutely.
all these thousands of people you've
Yeah.
met over the
Well, he's a
almost 60
guy.
years.
He's a
it's
guy I
him.
met when I was 22. Is from Los Angeles. He's been dead now a bit over 15 years. I think he was 80 when he died. But I met him when I was 22 in the UK. He came over for a company called Herbalife, and he was the right hand of Mark Hughes, who was the owner. And he's a philosopher. He's a personal development speaker. He's an author. And I met him on several occasions. I was lucky enough to meet him. I've seen him in many seminars in Los Angeles and the UK. And at 22, I met him, and he was the first person that made me realize that I could choose a different direction for my life. It was that point, that conversation I had with him about responsibility. And he said, you know, wherever you are now, you don't have to stay there. You can change as long as you accept that it's your fault where you are. And the refreshing thing about that is you can now decide where you're going to go because you've decided to be here. Now you can decide to be there. But as long as you're blaming your wife, the government, your parents, the city you live in, your employer, what you're saying is they decide where I go and they decide where I am, then you're never going to be anywhere because they're not going to let you go. So you've got to take responsibility for all of that. And he's that person that opened my eyes. And ever since then, I've been listening to his tapes and his books.
Yeah, until today, you still listen to him every day.
1988.
It was also quite, correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember well, it was also quite a vulnerable time for you, like when you were 22, because your father just passed away. And
yeah, it was a bad spot for sure. Yeah, my dad had died when I was 21. My mum disappeared when I was 9. My brother was in prison.
So you were basically alone. So did he become some kind of, even though he wasn't that closely on a day-to-day basis in your life, did he become like a
I was in a
father
very
figure?
working class town. I never met anybody like him. There was no internet. There was no way of sourcing these amazing people. And
True. So
to
true.
that you could go and buy a book, but there wasn't many books on personal development.
Mm.
He gave me a list of books: Think and Grow Rich, The Magic of Thinking Big, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's a few books that he told me to read,
Did
but
you
there was
read
only a
them?
few books available in the 80s.
Mm.
Tony Robbins had just written Awaken the Giant Within 2 years earlier,
He was also inspired
1986.
by him, right?
Robbins used to work for Jim Rohn, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so even now he's a big influence. Because when somebody says something that's profound, it's still profound 50 years later.
Mm. Yeah.
100 years later, it still makes sense. Nothing's changed. The problem is you're not applying what they've told you.
Mm.
So that was it. Jim Rohn's been very important to me.
There's another interesting quote out of the book. Do you mind if I read it?
No, of course.
When you're 25, energy often feels endless. You wake up ready to conquer the day with natural enthusiasm and stamina. But at 60, that's no longer how life works. And a bit further, actually, in that chapter, you quote something very nice as well. Energy doesn't come naturally anymore. If you're 50, 60, or beyond and looking to transform your life, you have to work for it. You can still access the energy of a much younger person, but only if you make intentional, purposeful decisions every day. Just as a director plans every aspect of production to maximize efficiency, you must approach your energy with strategic intention. Can you tell me a bit, yeah, how you did you deal with it?
But when you're 25, you generally have lots of energy, or 30 or whatever, and you generally don't know what to do with it. You don't know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems that I came across as going through a transformation at 50, you need to be able to be motivated to do
To pull
that.
it off.
All of those things I've just mentioned take energy, and it doesn't come easily when you're 50 or 60.
No.
So even though it's the biggest transformation you're making in your life, you've got the least amount of energy to execute those things. So then you've got to get super serious about a few things: food, sleep, exercise.
Yeah, oh my God, your body, like you were, sorry, but you were overweight
Yeah.
at first. And
Mm.
I came back and you looked like someone from 300. You had a six pack.
Mm.
Well, you've never had it before in your life, right?
No. So you have to tap in, you have to take so seriously sleep, food, exercise, all of those things, alcohol, all of those things that are going to rob you of the little energy that you have, they have to go.
So is it more about managing what takes your energy?
Yeah, it's studying, read about sleep, read about food,
Right.
read about exercise, go and get some help. If you can afford it, get a personal trainer. If you can afford it, read some books, get serious and study, because you're going to need all the energy you can get. You can have it, our days are very busy now. We have a 1-year-old, we have a 4-year-old. We're doing martial arts in the morning, we're going to the gym. I'm doing more with my life now than I've ever done. And it takes a tremendous amount of energy. So energy, I write a whole chapter in the book about it, because to execute a transformation, you're going to need as much energy as possible. And if you're not 20 and you're middle-aged, you're going to have to take that seriously. Can't do it without energy. So important.
I get that. You're also writing about the importance of understanding how hormones work.
Yeah.
And also about longevity.
Yeah, there's a chapter on testosterone, because when you get to a man and you're 40, your body starts to deplete in testosterone. It starts to eat your muscles away. When you're 50, it's worse. When you're 60, it's worse. When you're 70, it's a nightmare. So you have to figure out about maybe testosterone replacement therapy, TRT as they call it. You've got to figure out longevity supplements. You've got to put back into your body what your body's lost, because you're going to need to have the energy of a 30-year-old, to be able to transform. And you can get it, but your body's lost. It's a bit like your eyesight. You know, nobody's eyesight gets better when they're 50 and 60 and 70. It doesn't
True.
start to improve.
No.
Well, that's like your energy and your testosterone levels and all of those things that you
Right.
lose.
So you
lose
take
your
things to
muscle mass.
compensate, basically. So you take supplements or other things, you do things to compensate for it.
Just to get me back to where I need to be
Yeah.
to be able to finish the movie.